Bruce, I'm going to pop you a question from Julia in the group chat, but for now we need to say thank you and move on to our next presentation. So I'm going to invite my colleague Joy, who will be your MC for the next segment. Joy is sitting in Nairobi. Over to you, Joy.
Thank you so much, Rosie, and thank you, Bruce, as well, for your wonderful presentation. I'm really excited to present the next set of members who are going to be hearing from. We have two members coming back to back from East Africa, and we're really excited to hear from them and hear about the work that they're doing in terms of their impact. We are really excited to be welcoming Saruni Basecamp next. Saruni Basecamp for us is very special because they're our first group member. They have 13 camps around Kenya. And it's very interesting to just hear their story and what they're, the work that they're doing in terms of making sure that they're impacting change in the conservation and community level. And they're going to be sharing more on how they're protecting fragile ecosystems through community-led conservation. So without wasting a lot of time, I'm going to invite Sandra from Saruni Basecamp to share more. Welcome, Sandra.
Thank you so much, Joy. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. I am very excited for the session, and allow me to quickly share my screen. So Saruni Basecamp, we are the Long Run's first ever group member. Initially, we had 4 properties on board, but now we have 13 of our properties as a member of the Long Run. And I think that is the best way to start off this presentation, to say that we are the first ever group members of the Long Run and that we are committed to the 4 Cs. So that is so exciting. And I'd like to state that just for the foundational basis, that we are the first ever members and that we have a community conservation model whereby we do not have fences between people and nature. Rather, we encourage the modern method of conservation. And we have 6 different community-owned wildlife conservancies across the Mara and Samburu. And to add on to that, we have direct partnerships with 6,000 indigenous landowners from Maasai and Samburu communities. And we like to involve these indigenous communities in decision making because they're the beneficiaries. And when you see Saruni Basecamp, just know that you are looking at the face of responsible ecotourism. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I can look at the community partnerships and economic impact, in the previous year, we had conservation fees and land leases to these indigenous communities increased by 40% to $2.6 million. You can see that the kind of impact we have. And to just build on that, we have 86% of the staff in all our camps coming from these Maasai and Samburu indigenous communities. So conservation is a major employer in our eyes. If I can tell the story of Basecamp Maasai brand, it is a community-based initiative that empowers women. And currently we are working with 200 women. And these women, they have so far achieved a 74% increase in sales, generating over $80,000. So you see this, we touch livelihoods and we touch lives at the same time. So through this way, culture, and we also recognize that it is important to supply the local supply chains because we procure things like goats and milk from the local community. So this money circulates within communities. And we recognize that if you support the community, conservation is also uplifted. So both of them go hand in hand. And there's another success story I would like to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, and it is the Serra Conservancy story. So the Serra Conservancy is Africa's first community-owned and managed rhino sanctuary, and it was established in strategic partnerships with the Samburu, Turkana, and Rendile tribes. And this conservancy is 840,000 acres of protected land. And we are the organization that is so proud to be part of this, because we are taking care of endangered species like the black rhinos and the white rhinos. And as you can see on your screens, we have the 21 thriving black rhinos and the 4 thriving white rhinos within our conservancy. So this is a story that we are also very proud of, and the impact that we are bringing into the community is visible right here on your screens. So looking at a global scale for conservation, community conservation, we have secured 1.2 million acres for conservation of land. And we also have, we preserve vital flora and fauna species. 8 IUCN listed vulnerable species are conserved, and we have the grevy's zebras, the African wild dogs, and the list is endless over there. And to build on that, we have reforestation initiatives that we take up in, and this is a 167% increase from 2023. So can you just imagine that? We are restoring natural ecosystems. And aside from that, we have the educational initiatives like the Educare program and the Saroni Base Camp Academy, which are empowering the local community members and just building the next generation of conservation leaders. So that is the kind of organization that we are. So in summary, Saroni Base Camp is rooted in our purpose to protect fragile ecosystems through community-led ecosystems. So we are focused on creating lasting impact for long-term resilience. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening in, and I hope that the impact has been felt through your screens, and I look forward to listening and hearing more impact stories from all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And Sandra, thank you for sharing your impact story. We are really delighted that we have you on board, and we look forward to sharing, learning from each other. And thank you so much for all that you're doing. And we hope that you continue sharing your impact and also elevating it to greater levels. Thank you so much. Next up, I'm going to invite Edwin and Clinton from Kicheche. Kicheche is, they have 4 camps around Kenya, and they're going to be sharing more about their impact story, especially with their community trust. And we're going to hear how they're empowering communities through strategic partnerships for lasting impact. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Edwin and Clinton to go ahead and share.
Thank you very much, Joy. I hope my audio is working all good.
Yes.
I'll be sharing my screen shortly, and I'm joined by my colleague Clinton Calboro, who's the Community and Sustainability Trust Coordinator. And my name is Edwin Kimemir, the Marketing and PR Officer of Kicheche Camps and Kicheche Community Trust. Kindly confirm you can see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, just sharing. There we go.
Yes.
Super. So as I mentioned, my name is Edwin Kimemir, and with my colleague Clinton Carbolo, who is currently in Mara North Conservancy, that's in Masai Mara. He handles our community and sustainability coordination down at the camps. Kicheche camps, just as a point of introduction, I'd like to just introduce our innovation for impact. And to set the scene is just to mention that Kicheche camps is the fellow member, but we have 4 properties, 3 in Masai Mara, and Kicheche Mara North being in Mara North Conservancy is the member camp. And just to set the scene of the story of how we came to be, we have our 2 co-founders, Greg Monson and Paul Goldstein, who 25 years ago visited, and around a campfire, the idea was born to be able to set up a set of properties that are championing wildlife conservation, but also offering authentic and immersive safari experiences. And that's how Kicheche camps came to be. And then we were able to also after that, we were able to start on the Kicheche Community Trust, which is our arm for community empowerment. So as I mentioned, with 25 years, that's a really big milestone for us as a member. And Kicheche Camp standing for 25 years, the growth has been, we've been able to grow to 4 properties from 1. So the Kicheche Mara North Camp was initially set up in Lemek Conservancy, which is neighboring Mara North Conservancy, which is just very close to Mara North Conservancy that we moved recently after some years in Lemek Conservancy. In total, we are conserving 250,000 acres of ecosystems within the 4 properties. And if to bring you home to Mara North Conservancy, it was founded in 2009, and we were part of the founding members of the 12 tourism partners in Mara North Conservancy. And it's exciting that Saruni Base Camp also is part of the conservancy and also has a property there that I've just presented. And it's great to have similar partners and forward-thinking initiatives that we are able to partner with. What I'll take you through is the power of partnership, where it has been able to take us, and the projects that we've been able to involve the community and they've been able to drive. So the Mara North Conservancy has over 1,000 community landowners where we lease the land, and for each and every quarter they're able to receive land leases payments, which is very critical in the community empowerment. If I'm to touch on the member camp, which is Kicheche Mara, it has 9 standard tents and 1 family suite. It's solar powered and gold eco-rated. So all the luxury tents are facing a seasonal stream or rock. And we offer immersive and very authentic experiences that are able to spearhead and also promote the cultural heritage of the land that we so much adore. Our mission as a trust, as I mentioned, the Community Trust, which is the arm for community empowerment of Kicheche Camps, was established in 2004. And this has become a source of funding for the community surrounding our conservancy. So just to give you a better perception is Kicheche Camps donates $5 per bed night for every guest who stays at the camp. And these funds are going to the community projects, and the trust operates, or rather just manages this fund. And also the guest who stays with us, they're welcome to partner with us and they collaborate. Just to take you through the model that we've been able to adopt over the 25 years of spearheading sustainable safaris in Mara North Conservancy, is that we've been able to adopt a circular model of community conservation, whereby we partner through innovative solutions and collaborative action so as to harness the force of good in tourism. So our guests have become partners, and the partners have become advocates. And at the end, or rather in the long run, the communities have become the stewards of these conservancies and also the community projects. And these initiatives have already been able to sink into the 4C. And just to mention, as a trust, we are able to follow through the community projects in 4 pillars. That's education, health, community empowerment, environment, and conservation. I'll take you through now the 4C just to share some of the outcomes that we've been able to witness in the community. And I'll start off just with mentioning that at each camp we have trust ambassadors who are brand champions for each and every community projects that we do. So we have brand ambassadors who are able to communicate the 4Cs to our fellow staff in the camp and on the ground, and also to champion the community initiatives and interactions. So these are the guys who go to the community and also be able to champion all the activities that we do. Under conservation, which is very critical in the areas that we are conserving, there's a lot of challenges that we've been able to foresee and also being able to assess. And through our initiatives of creating a conservation mindset, and for us, conservation starts with the young minds. So we create initiatives like the conservation program, where we take kids on safaris every year. So for the last season, we've been able to do 100 students. So they come to our conservancies, we do a game drive, they visit the camp to see the operations and to appreciate the tourism behind it. The Kenya Wildlife Trust, which is an organization championing cheetah monitoring projects down in Mara North Conservancy, we've been able to partner by maintaining and fueling the vehicles, the research vehicle, which is very important for the researchers to do the patrols through the ecosystem and be able to get more resources. Through conservation, we also do art boot camps for the kids, which is very exciting. They're able to use nature and reusable materials to do artwork. And we engage an artist who is able to show them how to appreciate every little thing that we ignore for our day-to-day lives. And also to mention a really exciting project that we do in Mara North, which is the Ultra Marathon run by our partners, Mara Elephant Project, where we've been participating every year just to send a team to run. It's a 50-kilometer foot race, and we do it in relay format in 2 teams. So we have 8 participants, and the funds go towards training and development of the rangers, equipping them through modern drones and also the healthcare and also their salary support. But most importantly is to champion the conservation of elephants. So it's quite exciting to see such partnerships growing and also giving fruit to sustainable outcomes. Through community, we've been able to also partner with really key persons in the conservancy. And also we've been partnering with our guests to stay at Kichache Mara North. And it's important to bring out that collaborative action through our guests. And to highlight these is we've been able to set up in this last one season an IT lab that has been able to reach over 300 students. And through this, we are also doing IT labs, IT projects for the youth and women, whereby we've been able to do community outreach programs just to increase on the skills and the confidence of the youth of Mara North Conservancy. If I'm to touch to healthcare as well, again in the line of collaborative action, we were able to also partner with Saruni Base Camp recently last year and Gateway's Hospital, Children's Hospital and Safari Link to offer a 3-day free medical camp in the Iton village down in Mara North Conservancy. And this was really successful to see outcomes and partnership success in real time. And the community there have been having accessing healthcare, and we're trying to bridge those roads between the access to healthcare and the community through partnership. We offer reusable sanitary pads as well. These are kits that are given to school-going high school girls just to also combat the access to funds to be able to access all these hygienic. Our women empowerment program is able to reach out to a large group of women where they are told, how to start up businesses, and we are proud that about 10 have been able to start a business for the last one season, and we've been able to employ 2. One is a mechanic and one is a guide currently working at Kichache Mara North. In community as well, we have been able to partner with Wildlife Tourism College in Parliament Conservancy, whereby we sponsor 2 trainees, or rather 2 interns every year. And as a success story, the outcome through this, we had Lucy Mantaine, who recently graduated as the top student in her class, and we were able to give her part of a guiding team in Kichache Mara North. This has been very successful, and we have been ongoing. Previously, this was the Iton guiding school, and through the partnerships, we've seen really success happening through our guiding team. Soweto Academy is in Kibera slums, which is a settlement here in Nairobi. Our guests will start their trip here in Nairobi, so we figured it's really good to link all that impact from where the guest arrives. So that's Soweto Academy, where we have a photojournalism club. We appeal to our guests because we have a lot of photographer guests, to give out their unused and spare cameras. And this has been able to empower their creativity and again, championing on conservation. I will be able to welcome my colleague Clinton to take us through culture. Clinton, kindly. Clinton, if you could pick up. I'll continue if you can hear me. So for cultural exchange, if I could take you through. So at Kichache Mara North, we've been able to set up a dedicated lounge for cultural conservation, conversations, and storytelling, whereby our guests can be able to have an opportunity to learn beadwork with Maasai women, and this has been very engaging. The women also are able to communicate and also tell their stories in a very authentic way. We have also village visits where we take our guests to visit and be able to support. Then also these gears into the economic empowerment on commerce, where we also champion revenue generating activities. For example, we've been able to teach them on soap making and also do storekeeping. And this is the women empowerment program that we have. It's a 2-week program. We have volunteer trainers coming, which are our repeat guests, and they're able to offer their skills to the women. And in general, we usually do 25 to 30 ladies in each training, so it's biannually. So it has been able to be a very successful program through partnership with our guest volunteers, but also our guest partners. Here is Masai Mara Wildlife Conservancies, who we partner with in recruitment of the ladies, and it has been a really successful program, of course, with challenges here and there, but learning as well. So it has been a very collaborative effort in learning and also sharing the ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Edwin. Thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to hearing more stories from you. Thank you for taking the time to share the impeccable work you're doing. I'm going to hand over now to my colleague Ruth Crichton from our regional hub in Southern Africa to take over.
Thank you, Clinton. Thank you, Joy. And hello to everyone. I am really excited to introduce Paula Strauss from Fruitbos today, who's going to be presenting to us about, and I love the title of it, Paula, More Than Just Honeybees. And so Paula's been sort of heading up and is the research manager at the entomology section at Fruitbos and Fruitbos Foundation. So I'm going to hand over to Paula to tell you a little bit about the intriguing stories around some of the research and findings they're doing at Fruitbos. You had your screen shared, Paula. Maybe just share again. There you go. Maybe just unmute.
Sorry, how's that? Good. Thanks so much, Ruth, and thanks everyone. Very excited to tell you about the insect research we're doing at Fruitbos. So let's jump into it. Some background. Insects are incredibly important within our ecosystems, performing vital functions from pollination to nutrient cycling and decomposition. And in some regions, especially in fynbos, seed dispersal. And without these services, well, our ecosystems are not going to do that well, and humans will be in a spot of trouble. So for some background around the global knowledge around insect declines, Wagner has summarized studies that have looked at various insect groups. And as you can see, the Northern Hemisphere is very well represented in terms of showing insect declines. However, for Africa and South Africa and the block there, we don't actually really know what's going on. And that's because we don't have long-term information on our insect populations to be able to say this. So Grootbos is at the tip of South Africa. And you'll see there in the purple, there's the fynbos biome. That's a hyperdiverse botanical region with more than 9,000 plant species. And on Grootbos, we've got about 3,600 hectares. And our conservation director, Sean Privet, has been documenting these plants since 1997. So to date, we've got more than 1,000 plant species documented. And this is important, I'll tell you why. When you talk about insects, you want to know about these interactions, right? So our insect work is much more recent. We're about 7 years old now. And we've got over 230 families documented on the reserve. But there's a lot of things that go on with insects. So if you look at the northern parts of South Africa, insects are usually much larger. And if you start working in the fynbos biome, you'll realize things are much smaller. So apart from our incredible collection that we have on the larger insects, predominantly what we'll be looking at, you'll see at the top there are these really, really tiny that you need a powerful to look at. And in the center there is the magnification of a leafhopper, one of the tiny guys that we tend to find in our beautiful fynbos. So for the past 7 years, we've been going out catching insects, and there's a whole process behind it: catch them, pin them and identify them. And then because insects are not that well studied in general, and specifically in fynbos because they're so tiny, we've been able to go to family level. Now within our regional collection, we house about 64,000 pin specimens. that is incredibly valuable resource to use, not just for our internal entomology team, but also for expert consultants, and I'll get to that in just a bit, and also external researchers that want to do taxonomic revision. So we're kind of promoting this beyond the boundaries of Grootbos. And as I mentioned, we are very interested in finding out how insects are connected with plants or different vegetation types and what those ecological interactions are. So from these broad projects for the past 7 years, we've narrowed down to a couple of groups that have key performances within the ecosystems. And we really got a handle on this. For instance, our 108 bee species, 13 monkey beetle species, 2 of which might be new to science, 45 ants, etc. And you'll notice our bees, our monkey beetles and butterflies are pollinators, and so our seed dispersers, and our damselflies and dragonflies are like our apex predators in our insect world. And we couldn't do this alone. We've been collaborating with various expert taxonomists like Connell for the bees, who spent more than 40 years working on this specific group. Jonathan Colville looked at our monkey beetles and Peter Slingsby at our ants. And these types of relationships are very, very important. The buck doesn't stop there. We still want to know what's going on with our insect populations, and it's incredibly challenging to cover such a large, diverse group of animals. And so we are looking at genetic methods that we can use to identify what's going on with our insect populations. So if I can use bees as a case study, so we've got 108 bee species, and every bee species then has a unique barcode or a fingerprint that we can extract to get a library together to give us more information on each species. And that's unfortunately very understudied at this point in time. So imagine you'll put a bowl of some preservative out in the field, and you'll be catching insects. And instead of spending like 3 to 12 months working through that sample, if you got your library, you can look at what sequence or DNA is in that sample and compare that with your library, and so get a very good idea of what our insect populations are doing within this space. But we don't just do research on insects. We also work a lot with people, telling them the insect stories that are important. So everything from guest experiences, adults and children coming around to our conservation and research office for an inter experience. And then also local community members. We will go out in the field and catch insects and go look at them under the microscope and have these jaw-dropping experiences of what that tiny insect really looks like and what important jobs they do. In addition, we also have annual entomology internships where we train young scientists on insect collection methods, pinning methods, preservation methods, etc. And through this, we hope to inspire people to look at our insects in a different light and to conserve them. Thank you very much. Ruth?
I'm here. Can you hear me? Cool. Sorry,
Yes.
I just was chatting away to myself. Paula, I don't know if everyone actually heard how many bee species you have on Grootbos and how many ant species. So everyone is always amazed by that. I think it was 60. Yeah, sorry.
So we know that we've got such a healthy diversity of insects in our.
Thanks, Paula, so much. And I don't know if you froze or I froze. I'm not sure which one of us it was, but that's great. And then, so thank you for that. We're heading over to Elsa Pallet now from Singita. So Elsa has a background in impact work and has a passion for female empowerment. And Elsa's going to be sharing a bit about the Singita Culinary School. I was absolutely blown away by visiting the Singita Culinary School at Singita Lebombo. And it's such an inspiring project that is having such a fundamental impact on these young people's lives and giving them a real career trajectory and different life trajectory. Elsa, okay, let's try and just quickly share. Let me share for you.
Thank you so much, Ruth. So my name is Elsa and I'm the marketing manager for conservation at Singita. And what the program that I'm going to be speaking about today is the Singita Community Culinary School. And the topic is rethinking tourism for a positive future. You can go next. Thanks so much. So the challenge that we were trying to solution with this program back in 2006, I think, is the fact that we had an issue with shortage and lack of skilled chefs in one of our properties in the Kruger National Park in South Africa. And it was quite an interesting challenge because the reason why we had a lack of skilled chefs was firstly because we were based around 2 hours away from communities. So people would come in for a short period of time and then not want to actually stay on property because obviously it's just such a far drive morning and evenings. And then the fact that a lot of the local communities didn't necessarily have practice within their skills. So they might be skilled but not practiced in a 5-star lodge, which is what we are. And because Singita is so focused on trying to empower and support local communities, it was really difficult to solution this. But what we did do, you can go next, please, was figure out on an actual game drive one day, some of the staff members were thinking about it and wanting to rethink how we could solution this, where we could allow for obviously our guests to enjoy really incredible dishes, but then at the same time have skilled staff and look at local kind of recruitment rather than looking into different bigger cities like Cape Town, Johannesburg, Pretoria. So what we decided to do is start creating our own cooking school. This was actually started back of house, around 20 minutes away from the lodge where the staff stays at a place called Shishangan, which was actually a former army base camp. So there was a kitchen already that existed, and all we had to do was really revamp it and allow for it to be obviously student friendly. So in 2007, we launched the program where we brought in 6 students out of 100 applicants. So there was a huge appetite for this cooking school. And obviously the goal was to equip local youth from neighboring communities with 5-star culinary skills. So that was the main goal. And youth in South Africa is between the ages of 18 to 35. And then obviously what was kind of like a ripple effect was just having better quality food for our staff, which was also an issue that we had at the time. And then obviously the next kind of benefit to this program was really equipping these youth to then be able to be a pipeline into our incredible kitchens at Singita, whether it's in the Kruger National Park side or the Sabi Sand side. You can go next, thank you. So our model now, which is, it's really expanded and it's it's obviously been established over the last few years. It used to be a 6-month course, which was fully endorsed by Singita. So Singita would be paying for all these scholarships, but now it's a 12-month course with a 6-month internship. So we're really wanting students to not only get educated and have this incredible experience working practically and theoretically in the studio, which is actually now based at the lodge front of house. So guests get to come see it interactive, do cooking classes, and obviously students get to engage in that way. But now it's also accredited with PRULEAT, which is an internationally recognized program. So obviously that means that students don't only see Africa as a place to work, but also global, which is what we wanted. And then we've added on 3 different courses. So a wine course, a first aid course, and a fire course, just to make sure that they are obviously equipped to be chefs. You can go next. Thank you. So impact is obviously just highlights and kind of make sure that the program is really successful and it is actually working. So what we've seen is, firstly, we've expanded this program from just being in Kruger in South Africa to being in Tanzania as well as Rwanda. So the program has expanded significantly with 8 students in South Africa every year, 8 students in Tanzania, and 10 in Rwanda, with a total of 209 students that have graduated to date from the different schools. And I think what's really incredible is the fact that 92% of the graduates are employed. So the school is allowing for them to not only be educated, which is a huge part of what Singita does and what Singita focuses on, but also then allowing them to be employed, which is obviously economic inclusion is really important, but also just showing that the skills that we are giving them is allowing them to be able to receive jobs and get jobs. And then also just the fact that they're progressing in their career. So 42% of them are now actually junior sous levels and higher. So they're not just staying as commie chefs, kind of at the bottom of the kitchen, but really progressing. One of our ones at Swaney, which is one of our lodges in the Kruger National Park, is now head chef, and she used to be an alumni student, or she is an alumni student. And yeah, other than that, they just also are working in Africa. So these 209 students, some of them are working in Africa, some of them international, and others have also started their own businesses, which is really, really incredible. You can next, thank you. Scaling the impact. So what we're trying to do into 2025 and beyond is making sure that there's a campus in each region that we operate in as Singita. So Zimbabwe and Botswana soon to come too. And then obviously every future property, we're really hoping to have a Singita Community Culinary School. And because it's expanded so significantly, Singita isn't the only donor to the program anymore. We've got a lot of incredible guests that support it, donors that support it. And we're just wanting the Singita Community Culinary School Expansion Fund to increase so that we can create more impact. Can move on. And I think that impact obviously within the program is really incredible, and we've seen from stats and like measuring that perspective. But then at the same time, something which is also really incredible is just seeing how it has a ripple effect into the communities. Education is obviously core to who we are at Singita, but also just the fact that education does give people so much opportunity. But it also does allow for them to support their families, whether it's their children, whether it's their partners, whether it's their parents. And I think obviously, especially in rural communities, which is the communities that we work in, if you uplift one, you uplift so many more. So it's really incredible to see how these opportunities are allowing for communities to really flourish as well. That's all from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elsa. And this is just an inspiring program, and it was just so great to hear about it and look forward to and this was just such a great example of a program that is created and replicated and is being scaled. So thank you so much for sharing your inspirational story. And we're on next to Chris Kilpatrick from Castle Leslie, who is sharing a bit about building a culture of purpose and belonging. So Castle Leslie is in Ireland, is our member in Ireland. Welcome, Chris. And so looking forward to hearing a bit more about, yes, building a culture of purpose and belonging amongst your internal community.
Thank you. Yes, so Castle Leslie, we are set, as you say, in Ireland, in County Monaghan. So we are part of Ireland's ancient East. And Castle Leslie is set in 1,000 acres of woodlands, lakes, and we'd also probably be one of the last founding families who of one of the last greatest Irish estates. So just to kind of give you an overview and to kind of send some context into our how we create our people in our journey and their belonging with us. This is our kind of circular economy and how we have helped those local community as well, and not just our key people on the estate. And it's just some key highlights there. We've paid 5.9 million there in local staff wages. Again, then we've like to 85,000 visitors coming through our gates, which we kind of look at that it's going to help in the local areas. They spending an average of 50 euros per person within the surrounding areas, whether it's coffee shops, a local chocolate shop, or just helping the local area. Some of our accreditations then, and this kind of really sets our kind of our key belonging and kind of our metrics for what we do here on the estate, and it also gives that recognition, I think, to our team, that their efforts and what they're putting in is really kind of is coming through, and they're being rewarded for what they are doing, not just what we're doing as a team, but again, just in the general estate. So the likes of we're Irish Restaurant Awards there, we're a gold medal award for a green hospitality. Again, the likes of Good Food Ireland, we've got the overall Supreme Award for Ireland. Again, then we've other things like the gold medal award there, where Ireland's favourite place to stay is the overall winner. And then a real big one there was the Great Places to Work. And that's the journey of our team. And this all came from accreditation and surveys of what our team are saying about us and what we here are doing. And it takes into everything, account from how they're getting on with their colleagues, with their manager, are they getting regular feedback, the diversity, the inclusion. So again, that's a real recognition for the last 3 years now. And we've also been the last 2 as the best workplace in Ireland in the top 120 companies. Some key highlights then from this, again, as I say, we're proudly recognised as one of Ireland's top 120 best companies for the last 3 years. Again, probably a challenge that we had from the start. You can see just down the bottom there, the kind of key highlights there is we kind of went from the likes of the organisation will act on the results of this survey is 65%, right up to this year where we got to 85%. And it's really showing now that the voices and what the people are saying, that we're acting on this and we're really kind of helping them. And probably the next slides is showing what we're doing and how we kind of do that journey along with the people here. So again, as you can see here, this is some of our benefits that we do in our employee engagement. So we have 2 kind of real kind of groups that we set up within the estate. One being our HR stakeholder group, which is made up of senior managers. Again, then we also have an employee resource group. This resource group is made up of departmental team members. So from anyone from an accommodation assistant to one of our sous chefs to somebody who works in the gardens. So it's made up of everybody. And again, it gives them a chance to kind of get involved. They produce a newsletter which goes out to the rest of their team members and the rest of the estate, and kind of really explains what their roles and what they're doing. And it kind of also then gives the journey from the people. We also then on that side there, like we look at what local charities want to do, any fundraising, any initiatives we're going to do. And again, it also gives them an open space to talk about maybe some aspects of things that we need to look at as a senior management team, which then I can bring back to our HR stakeholder group, where then we can make decisions on our kind of calendar events or what is happening within the estate. And as you can see, this is some of down in the bottom there, some of the days that we do. So we do obviously the Pancake Day, we have Gifts for Mothers, we celebrate kind of National Biscuit Day. It might sound a strange one, but again, encourage everyone to come together, maybe have a cup of tea or a coffee with somebody they might not see on the estate, and just kind of again, kind of really get them to know other people. We have our pumpkin carving contests, we have a Christmas party, we have Santa comes and visits the children. Again, so it's something that really that we build with this program here. And then again, we also support other aspects of we've managers trained in mental health support. We put on wellness program, we do fitness classes in the local community. And again, we celebrate the likes of births of children within the estate. We also then would do end of year vouchers for employees. And again, we kind of put on different aspects of different purposes. Again, this is all kind of developed through listening to our team, working with our team, and working with other kind of managers, and as I say, the team, the resource group as well. Some key highlights then, as I say, we've done the well-being first, prioritizing mental and physical health through different healthy eating days, the fitness class that we would do, offering career growth and pathways for development, offering kind of team recognition. Then they have days together, they have we have charity nights, we have a quiz. We also then we close the estate twice a year during peak periods to give the team that really kind of break and reset, have a party to celebrate. We've currently 22 nationalities, so again we obviously have foster this kind of culture of diversity, inclusion, and we kind of put on different days, and we do lots of training around this as well, so everybody can understand who we are and where we are and what part of the world, and just get a bit of feeling for each other and their culture. Again, then we do like the community spirit there. We have a lot of kind of pumpkin carving competitions. We have family fun days. So again, really creating that community spirit, which then goes out to the kind of local area through volunteering as well, in the local kind of surrounding area here. As you can see then, just some key statistics. It's kind of what we're doing is really being shown. We've kind of our length of service there. So we have staff members from anything from 5 years, 2 years, 30 years. We've probably about 36% of our workforce have been here over 2 years. So really they are buying into this kind of culture that we're trying to create and listening to what they want to do and what they are saying. And again, this kind of gives you an overview of some of the length of service and how we kind of display this. We have these boards up within one of our kind of key areas that all our team members will see. And it just kind of really is a kind of the real say well done to we call them the legends, the heroes, the people that have been here and kind of created this community, and they are also then it's helping build that community as well. And again, we like to really do promotion from within if we can. Last year alone, we had 11 team members that we have promoted from internal positions. Again, that's something we can, if we can support and mentor, we create programs for people to develop. Again, then we have different things throughout the year. We support our equestrian team through their exams. The food and beverage team will do wine training. Again, then we put managers through a senior manager through International Hospitality School to better his knowledge and development. Again, then we just kind of really keep going with our regular first aid, fire training, and just really kind of adding more and more team members to this so that they're getting that exposure and development. I'd say that's everything from me. And again, it's really good to be part of this long run. And thank you very much for letting us present today.
Thanks. I'm not sure if you can hear me, Chris,
Yeah,
but
I
that
can hear
was
you now, yeah.
okay, great. But so lovely to hear a little bit more about Castle Leslie, and to think so many of us know that in hospitality, your internal community and building that company culture is so critical to all that we do being in this industry. I now hand us over to Louise Cotter, who's both the chair of the Long Run and CEO and founder of Cotter's Safaris, and she is presenting to us today on socioeconomic and conservation initiatives resulting in impact. Sorry, I missed the first word. Linking socioeconomic and conservation initiatives, results and impact. So over to you, Louise.
Thank you so much. And it's been amazing hearing everyone else. I'm very humbled by it. I am here from the Masai Mara. And as such, the signal may be a bit sketchy. So I'm going to advocate today on how we at Cotters are trying to look at the bigger picture. We're in the Masai Mara. We're on a piece of land where there's 7,000 families that have shares in the land, and we manage it. We're the only tourism partner really in this area, in this part of the Masai Mara. And that creates quite a connection we've been doing over 30 years, a lot of different initiatives, from schoolwork to water to women's health. But what we realize is that it's piecemeal. And I've heard a lot of presentations of wonderful work that people are doing, which is also piecemeal. And what we're trying to do is link at a bigger, more macro rather than micro level. Some of the challenges in the Masai Mara, particularly where we are, is at a very low poverty line. 58% of the population live below the poverty line. Only 2.5% of a household are in formal employment. There's a significantly high level of FGM, and it's set against the backdrop of the population doubling in every 7 years. It's actually every 6.5 years. And then tourism sits in the hand of a few, either foreign entities or local entities, and land often sits in the hands of the few. So for us to have a conservancy where everyone's a shareholder is quite a different model. What we're finding here is that as the population increases inside, there's an increase in human-wildlife conflict. 78% when interviewed in this area reported human-wildlife conflict. Additionally, with an expanded population, there are many examples where settlements and agriculture go into wildlife areas, and likewise, wildlife goes into settlement and agriculture areas. There is increasingly, as land becomes subdivided in this area, fencing blocks wildlife corridors. In Kenya overall, there's a massive decline in forestry, and wildlife populations are also on the decline. In land that is owned by communities, the solutions for wildlife and conservation and tourism lie with communities. And so at Cotters, we've tried to rethink and reposition in what we're doing. So we're trying to link the community and their development and their choices with conservation and with our tourism investments. We've just carried out a survey with an implementing partner called the Mar Trust, an amazing organization. But we've just carried out a baseline survey and a needs assessment of 4,000 households in the area. And it's covering a multitude of different socioeconomic issues and also looking at more conservation-related baselines, wildlife, water, soil. We are shifting all of our investment in socioeconomic issues with the Mar Trust to have one partner who is experienced and can do it well, instead of us as tourism partners pretending we know what we're doing in school, in education or health or other areas. And we're trying to link the investments in socioeconomic areas to conservation and expand conservation areas because of tourism. So we're trying to triangulate all three, but at a macro rather than a micro level. One of my colleagues said very well that conservation must first address human well-being. And when communities thrive, wildlife and landscapes can flourish as well. So I'd like to just talk through a little bit of that baseline. The results are not out, but we looked at, and it was a 20-page survey, over 4,000 households, demographics and education, household income and employment, housing and living conditions, food security and nutrition, health, rights, social, environmental and conservation, human-wildlife conflict, conservation actors and perceptions, and impact of tourism. Once we have those results, there will be a much clearer understanding of where the needs are, so that we're not doing what perhaps one of our guests says, oh, can I fund this? Can I fund that? But rather, we're doing what the community has prioritized clearly and articulated as their needs. When we do it, we're trying to then link to land and conservation. If there is a social investment, how does that impact on conservation? What can conservation do to help impact the social side of things? So for one example would be already there is a water catchment project underway. It's one of the highest human-wildlife conflict areas because buffaloes go into the same water source as humans. So just piping that water out, making it safe, allowing still the wildlife to be there, allowing humans to also access the same water source. So we're going to be kind of revising and reiterating what we're doing to make it more macro and interlinked, and over time, try and show macro results rather than one score, but rather look at the community itself and how they have developed over a period of years. We're a small player. We can't do it by ourselves. So in partnering with players like the Mar Trust, we're trying to amplify also the donor funding that's coming in, so that we're discussing with the Mar Trust, with other suppliers of funding like M-Pesa, among other. We hope by working collaboratively, what we're doing is an exponential lift for both conservation and community, and in turn, frankly, keeping our tourism product fit for purpose as well.
Thank you so much, Louise. That was really great, and I just love the connection, the starting point of. I think it's so valid for everyone to take away looking at bottom-up approach, looking at the needs assessment, connecting community conservation funders, and then the tourism product, which is what all of us ostensibly need to figure out this jigsaw puzzle. Thank you so much. I'm now going to hand over to our regional hub head, Joanna, who heads up our South American division. So thank you so much, Louise, for sharing. Joanna is going to take over from me and lead us into the next lot of presentations of some amazing properties in her hub. So thank you, Joanna, and thank you, Louise.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Ruth. Hi, everyone. So I'm kickstarting Latin America time. I'm very happy about that. And we're going to start with Chile, all the way in the Patagonian rainforest with Rodolfo Menichetti, who is the director of the Willow Foundation. And he's going to talk to us about this decades-long conservation program called the Huemul in the deer in Chile. And he has some exciting conquests that he will share with us. So take it away, Rodolfo.
Thank you very much for the time. I'm going to share my presentation. Give me a little minute. Okay, thanks. Well, I am, like Joanna said, I am Rodolfo Menichetti. I am from Willow Biological Reserve in the Patagonia rainforest in Chile. And now I'm going to talk about a challenge, a history that we started 20 years ago. We want to protect and reintroduce the huemul, that is a deer of South America. And we have the challenge to create the first transboundary corridor for the huemul. This corridor is in Rio region of Chile, where the biological reserve is in Chile, and in the province of Neuquén in Argentina. This is a that connect public national parks of Argentina and the private initiative of this idea began. We saw when Willow started in the 2000s that the huemul was extinct in this area, also in Argentina and in Chile. You can only have in the south of the continent, in Magallanes, but in region the huemul has extinct, and the reasons are for hunting or disease for other animals. So we started a project this is because this species is an umbrella species. That means that when you protect the huemul, you will protect all the animals that live in territory. So Willow proposed to restore the ecosystem and create the first project to reproduction and reintroduction the huemul in the world. So we started this in 2005. We have only 2 huemuls to start the projects. Peun and Tucun was the name that we call it. And we have to make a very mission impossible to take the huemuls to region, because we need 2 helicopters and 1 airplane that the military of Chile help us because the huemuls don't be in an airplane or a helicopter more than 6 hours. So we have less time. So when we do this, we have the huemul's to Willow, and we start the reproduction of these 2 pairs of huemul's. And in 2016, we passed to the second phase to start the reintroduction. In 2018, we start the second reintroduction of huemul's from this center. And right now we have more than 40 huemul's, someone in and someone in control environment. The idea this year, we are going to making the anniversary of center, and we establish an alliance with the Argentina National Park. The idea is that the huemul's in the future maybe can come to Argentina, to this region. So we need that the national parks of Argentina make some protections to the territory and to the animals if the huemul go there. So both areas form a biological corridor. We create some protocols to make conservation in places, and create an agreement to get the favorable conditions for animals move naturally. But huemul are not humans. They don't respect schedules. So in February, 2 months before the celebration, 1 huemul called Nehuenche cross the ice and goes to Argentina into the Lanín National Park. So our protocols start like 2 months ago. So we need to teach the the rangers to protect this whale that was in Argentina, in a place where the whales had been seen nearly 30 years. So right now, we have a dream in this, that we maybe repopulate the Patagonia Andes with the whale. We are working with the Argentina National Parks, also with other 2 ONGs of Argentina, are other from Chile. And that our schedule, where our methodology of the whale is successful, so we can help to the repopulation of the whale. And it's important to say that the whale is not only a project, because for the repopulation, you have to work with the community, you have to work with the economic development in the communities. So this works a lot with local communities and with tourism. The whale is like we can show to. So now whale Conservation Center are helping the communities to have some developed economical, and also to improve our quality of life. That's all, and thank you all for.
Thank you so much, Rodolfo. It's such a wonderful, wonderful, after so many years receiving, I know on global chat of the WhatsApp chat, your news that it had crossed over to Argentina was so exciting. We actually have how is that project funded, the Wilo Wilo project? I assume she means the project itself.
We founded it with the what can win in management. We have a lot of visit in the Willow, so with this money we can fund all the Wemwood project. It's only private funded.
Gotcha. Thank you, Rodolfo. I need to say this quick story that I was just recently visiting the in Argentina. About 3 weeks ago or so, and one of them is in Salta, in a 30,000 hectare valley that is very close to the border with Chile. And one of their particularities, Condor Valley, is that they have a winery, the solar winery of Argentina. And they were so excited to share with me that they created we call it like a special edition wine to celebrate the Huemul crossover to Argentina. So in a way, even though it wasn't necessarily connected, the Argentinians were also very, very excited about this. So I'm very, so next up, we're going to a very special place in Colombia, in Nomad Lodges, with Pierre Kruger, who's the founder. Very interestingly, technically, Nomad Lodges is in Colombia, but it's right in the border, in the heart of the Amazon, in the border with Brazil and Peru. So it's a very, very kind of community and a very big reserve. So Pierre, can you take your video on? Let me ask you to start video. Pierre.
Hello, everybody. Well, I'm happy to meet you. I'm here in Switzerland at the EHL, so not in the Amazon forest, as you can see on the backside. Actually, about Nomad Lodges, well, as Joanna says, we're in a very special part, in a very special place. And it's not only about nature, you know, it's more about people. What really impacted me the first time I saw this place is really the people are balanced with the nature, and how they manage to live with the nature from generation and generation. And this really impacts me, and I probably it's a place to make a project which will be a sustainable model of sustainable more access on the working with the locals, being very much integrated, and trying to find some solution with people. And that's actually what we have done from COVID. You know, COVID has been very hard in terms of tourism and hospitality industry, and we improved this period to construct our first bungalows. And actually, we have been very successful because nobody came to our region no NGO, like local people were a bit alone from everybody. I decided to construct with them, to make a project with them, and to make like what they can improve their knowledge, and where they can obviously start a project of and so thanks to all network, we've been able to crowdfund some money to build our first bungalow, and in the way to receive our first clients, our first guests, which obviously were first families and friends, and just to train the local people. And I must say the result is just amazing, because if I analyze what we have been delivering 2 years ago and what we can deliver now to our guests, it's just an enormous gap. And those people, the locals, they put so much energy and so much passion and about this project. That's the goal of it is great, and I'm very happy about the we have been able to integrate the project within this local population. And that's all about what we can offer at Nomad Lodges. People are coming because it's an experience, it's a different experience. We are in a very remote place. We're in a very exclusive place also, because we are within a national, sorry, not a national park, but you have no other hotels in this area. So we're the only one being able to build something in this area, thanks to the local communities. And the local communities is part of the project. So the people who are coming, the guests who are coming, they're very much, they're so happy to be in a project who is authentic, who gives you an authentic experience, a different and exclusive experience. And it is all about sustainability. I always say that to be sustainable, you really have to have a commitment with the local people and to work together and try to promote and the culture, the environment. And it has been doing quite well. And now, as you can see on the slide, we are doing a new bungalow. This will be the real model of what we expect to be the model that can be replicated to other parts in the Amazon, because the idea is really to develop a little bit the bungalow we have, but not too much, because I think the exclusive experience is something that the people really, the guests are demanding, and why they're coming and visit us. And so I don't want to have as much bungalow as I decided to have 10 years ago, but probably we'll have at around 5 to 6 bungalows, just to give to our guests this special experience and this special relationship that they have with the local communities. And this is really something important. That's they are very of the project, and they're very proud to share it with guests who are coming from all over the world, to see them and to see what they are doing, what they can offer, to learn more about the culture and about their heritage. And this is really about all the project. So now we have in the way to finance the third bungalow, we have the project of crowdfunding. Obviously, the idea is to grow up a little bit our ambassadors, in the way to get more people joining the project. And our crowdfunding is quite well. For the bungalow, we are about at 60% of capitalization now. So we're still looking for 40%. But I'm very I'm proud, and I'm sure that before the end of the year we can achieve this bungalow and offer really something different to our guests. So I think these are about the job creation and all the outcomes. It's also important to know that for in terms of integration, we have been working like more than 6 or 7 years with the locals. just to give them the opportunity to improve their knowledge. So that's the idea. It's all about mixing the local knowledge with new technologies and our knowledge. I just an example about we offer 90% of what we offer is local food to our guests. The idea is, and it's part of the experience, is to make the guests try all the amazing food that we have, all the amazing products that we have on site. And the idea is to change a little bit the form of presenting the food, looking for some specific taste, some specific presentation, and make it like a modern touch, nouvelle cuisine. And this works so well. And we have actually 6 women from the village in our kitchen. And they are enjoying so much doing some, trying some things with the they have. And actually, it's amazing to work with them. In terms of culture preservation, this is very important also for us to show to our guests what is the culture of those people, how they work with the local product, and what they can do with local products. And guests are just amazed about to see what we can do with palm tree. You know, the palm tree is used for many different things, obviously for leaves, for constructions, but also for fruit, for doing handicrafts. So there is a lot of to use the palm tree, and just to show this to the people, it's just amazing. And that's what our guests like. So I think that's pretty much it. What is really important, what I say to my guests, is that we really try to reconnect people to the nature, and we all say to our guests that you know, the nature doesn't belong to us. We belong to the nature. So it's important to refocus on the way we see the nature and the way we are using the nature in a good way and not in a bad way. So it's really important to what those people are doing for generation, and try to some from them and to do things better. So thank you very much for your attention. It has been a bit quick, and but I don't know, Joanna, if we have some times to questions or not.
We do. We have a question here. Which Colombian DMCs do you work with, and how do you get to the lodge?
Well, you know, we have done a lot of pushing because to make it, you know, slow. And I like the way to we're doing it. You know, it's for the respect for the locals. We take the people's step by step. We only take one reservation at the time, so we don't mix the reservation. So obviously it's very exclusive, and that's why the people are coming, and that's why it's working, because you know the locals, they're very happy to get a family, to get some people coming once a time, but it will be complicated if suddenly you come with 20, 30 people at the same time. It won't be the same, you know. So I do respect of the village. It's about 200 inhabitants, so we respect the of the village, and that's part of the integration. So to respond to your question, we have about 6 or 7 DMC in Colombia. We also have some travel agencies in Europe who are selling us, who are working with us. At this time, we have about 70% of our reservations through travel agencies and 30%.
Thank you so much, Pierre. I know that you have an sort of zeal and care for the community there. So I know that you take very, very care of it's not just reservations for the sake of reservations, but for the sake of the community and its improvement and organic sort of, while there's job creation, it's not growth at any cost, no. Thank you so much, Pierre, for
You're welcome, it was a pleasure.
We're gonna move to Brazil now. to Sinal do Vale, which obviously has a very big place in my heart because I've been a team member for the past 9 years. So I'm going to present myself. One of our projects last year, one of my colleagues, Katie, presented our 110-kilometer trail. So this year we thought that we'd present about Madre Frutos. Madre Frutos is an incredible project because it began very, very rudimentarily. It's a sustainable and inclusive jackfruit value chain. The idea initially was that we were going to create some sort of project that we could scale up, that could create jobs, but that had to do with food and creating healthy food systems. And the thing about Madre Frutos today is a woman-led social enterprise. We have several different products that we sell that are crafted from green jackfruit that is from the Atlantic rainforest. As some of you already know, Sinal do Vale is a 200-hectare sort of environmental regeneration campus, is what we call it, that is in Duque de Caxias. It's sort of like a sister city of Rio de Janeiro, where essentially Duque de Caxias and Rio are one big mega city. And for you guys to understand a little bit the context, there's a lot of information on this map, but here where we have a lot of icons is one of the last remaining protected areas of Atlantic rainforest. And not only is it a diverse hotspot, it's home to the golden lion tamarin, which is an endangered and endemic species. There's about 2,000 individuals in the wild. And the thing about it is that, as you can see, this protected area is essentially kind of a lot of pressure between the urban growth of Rio de Janeiro and Duque de Caxias, which is this gray big area here that is growing towards the forest, and Sinal do Vale is sitting sort of sandwiched right there. So what we do is try to come up with nature-based solutions that can sort of release pressure from the urban growth, but also provide sustainable and green jobs to the communities that live there. And so that was the idea when we were thinking about jackfruit. And originally what was happening was that we, like in 2017, we were thinking we're going to create this agroforestry system, and then we're going to grow, I remember we were saying like red pepper, because we're going to export red pepper to the French, and then we're going to grow acai, and 3 or 4 crops that were going to take 7 years to yield. And we were creating this very, very thing in our minds. And all of a sudden we sort of stepped back because we had someone at Sinal that I'm talk about next, that looked around and was like, just think differently, think about abundance. What is the paradigm of abundance? And green jackfruit is everywhere in this ecosystem. And the thing about jackfruit, I don't know if you know it, but it's like the biggest fruit. It has about like 100 to 150 seeds. They have 95% germination rate, so it can really accommodate to almost any ecosystem. And that's the case in Brazil, because green jackfruit isn't originally from here. It's from Sri Lanka, if I'm not mistaken, and it adapted very well to the forests of Rio. And what happened is that the state of Rio dubbed it as exotic and started cutting a ring below the base of the tree, so essentially the sap couldn't flow and the tree would die. But the tree is very resilient, so it's not really working. It's money that is kind of invested and lost, on the other hand. And then it also doesn't take into account the ecosystem services that the tree actually provides, because golden lion tamarin already eats the jackfruit. So we realized that we had to eat it to beat it. And this is Simone, who's wonderful and is in Portugal now. And what she does is she's a specialist in healthy food. And she decided to create a processing system for the jackfruit, because it is sort of latex. It's very easy fruit to process. But she created a processing system and started training the women of Sinal to do it. And then she started also experimenting with like textures and creating different dishes, and then developing a unique gastronomy that Sinal itself adopted and started sort of feeding to its guests. And eventually we started project writing, and eventually we got a few partners and were able to build in 2021 our first processing factory. And we developed a business model as well and started hiring people, especially women, to be able to create a facility that would actually have like a processing place and then storaging space and like the cold chamber, and started hiring and training women from the Santo Antonio community, which is it's a community that's 3 kilometers away. And it just became an actual kind of a project of its own. It grew to be our very big first project. And the cool thing about it is that back in the day when we were discussing branding and what would we call it, somebody threw in the name Madre, which means mother in Spanish, and just sort of like thinking about Mother Earth. And then eventually it naturally, organically ended up being such a perfect name because we mostly had women from the community who were mothers. And the processing coincides with summer vacation for the kids. And they were usually those women could not work because they had to stay home to take care of the children. So we took the children and we have a lot of space. And so we brought in volunteers and we dedicate an environmental education program for the summer for these kids. And so eventually this Madre name, it just became a bigger thing about that sort of organically became about having a space for women who were mothers in the community to be able to work and not have to commute 3 hours to Rio to work some odd job. So that was really cool. And so that's the business model. It's something that can be scaled eventually, but the idea is that we have people to collect green jackfruit because it has no taste and it's very fibrous. So it'll take anything that you cook it with, it'll sort of take, so you can make anything from like ceviche to burgers. It's incredibly diverse. And so we created the recipes, we created five products that are kind of in natura plus 3 that are snacks. And we started selling them to restaurants in Rio de Janeiro. At this point, we have about 10 employees, 8 women mostly. Per season, we can process 5 tons per season. And then we have those 8 sub-products that go now to about 9 restaurants in Rio for now. And so in 2024 to 2025, we are trying to boost up our fresh targeting retailers, like actual commerce, like supermarkets, and then restaurants that are not just vegan and vegetarian, but also normal restaurants, like ceviche places that have like a little ceviche, vegan ceviche and all. And then we're developing new products. We are doing these like meatballs and seed spreads because you can eat the entire thing. Jackfruit is really kind of a wonder. We partnered with a natural chef that started creating sort of ready-made recipes like jackfruit bolognese and Portuguese dish that is called bacalhada, I think it is trout. And so we play on with the name and it's jacalhoada. So everything is very jackfruit themed, but we're sort of expanding. And now these are some of the dishes that we created. These are the likes and the spreads. As you can see, this here at the top is in natura, so it has very different textures. And below is all the possibilities that you can make with it. So it's just incredibly resilient as a fruit. And as like one of the big impacts is we do employ 8 to 12 women. We're coming into our 5th season. We have removed about 1,000 jackfruits so far from our properties. So that's about 20 tons of meat. And our jackfruit management model, I think most importantly, has been considered in the conservation management plan of the Neighbor State Wildlife Refuge. And that's amazing because the conservation plan is sort of the legal instrument with which they're going to source money and how they're going to manage the parks. The fact that we were able to put it in there means that we could scale eventually if we demand enough, that we could supply and create jobs for people in the neighboring area of the park. So we're very excited about that and about the possibility of introducing it to the local school menu, because there's a policy where you can source locally for providing the ingredients for school menus in like different municipalities. So we're trying to get jackfruit in there. It's a whole process, but it's one of the things that we're trying to make happen. So jackfruit in and of itself is a very, very big, if you've been to Sinal, like some of you have, if you've been to the regional meetings or for any other reason, you've definitely tasted jackfruit, even if you don't know it, because it doesn't really, sometimes it tastes like chicken. But anyway, that's the Sinal story. That's one of our big projects. So there's another 2, and I hope that everybody gets to go one day and see all of our projects there. And that's it for Sinal. I'm going to take that cap off and come back to the long run. After talking about jackfruit a lot. And I'm going to give the word now to Adrian Garcia, who's from Costa Rica, and he's going to talk about Pacuare Lodge today and their Jaguar Corridor program. Hi, Adrian. Go ahead.
Hello, hello. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are. We're going to hear about a really interesting initiative project that we have been running in not just one, but a few of our properties related to feline conservation and specifically the jaguar, which is a pretty iconic animal that we all like in the world. 1 second. Wonderful, yes. So one of our properties is called Pacuare Lodge. It's in the middle of a very remote area in Costa Rica. You see this picture here. There is no road, no electricity, no internet, absolutely nothing. Well, we have internet now, Starlink and other convenient things. But in the middle of a relatively small country, which is Costa Rica, we have been able to host guests for a couple of decades now. It's iconic property, our oldest property, and happens to be in the middle of an indigenous territory, a Quebecer territory, and also in the middle of various natural reserves. Some are private, like ours. We have a big property there and dedicated purely to conservation, and then a little hotel, and then other public or national reserves that are around the hotel. The context, we have this beautiful place where we have our hotel in the middle of a very strong river. Actually, the only way you can get there is doing whitewater rafting. And then we have a little trick to get our food and bed sheets, and other things that we need for the hotel through a little gondola the river. But most of the guests get in and get out of the are doing whitewater rafting. It happens to be, again, a very pristine natural territory where there is a lot of wildlife, including some felines like the jaguar. So we a few years ago met a wonderful team of in Costa Rica. Some of them working at the Universidad Nacional, National University, one of the big state universities in Costa Rica. And we found out that they were doing jaguar research and research for other felines. Really top-notch, world-class research, the one you publish in papers and in peer-reviewed journals and this kind of work. And of course, they needed to have data points and photographs, video, more information related to specifically the jaguar that a few of them were studying. So our property became a really good location to host these scientists. What is the general challenge that, besides the studying of a jaguar, which is really cool, really important, what is the general challenge that we have in a property like ours related to the jaguar, big cats, and other mammals? Of course, there has been in surrounding areas, not in our property, but in the broader area, deforestation related to agriculture, logging, the things that you know in that particular location. Also, similar to other places like Brazil and other countries in Latin America where there is a feline presence, there was some conflict with livestock areas where the jaguar, looking for food, sometimes they would some of the little cows or big cows, and so that would cause conflicts with the humans taking care of those cows, and then back in the day, they would basically kill the jaguars and other potential threats because it was basically their livelihood, right? In danger. Doesn't matter if it was a species so as the jaguar, right? So that was one of the most in general related to conservation of such a species, the jaguar. Number two, of course, funding constraints. Imagine it's a few, less than a dozen scientists and volunteers that are part of this initiative by the National University that are looking to find and take care of these species, right? So the funding that they through the university and through some privates like ourselves, we do donate cash. Also, we host the scientists at our properties and we provide them transportation with our cars and food and so on. That's not enough, right? Because for very big areas where the jaguar is present, in theory or ideally, you would need a lot more support to continue to do this research, to buy expensive equipment, to plan long expeditions, to set up cameras and all of this. So funding constraints, it continues to be a challenge for this particular topic, the jaguar conservation or research in remote areas of Costa Rica. Lastly, in order to have the right training, education and support, information for the community, right? In the case of Pacuare, we're talking about, again, an indigenous population, the Cabecar territory. There is remote infrastructure and sometimes low awareness, although in Costa Rica, I think the awareness level is very good. Enhance this awareness among locals so that there can be effective collaboration and coexistence with an animal such as the jaguar. In our case, I think I'm going to talk about it a little bit in the next slide. If you can move to the next slide, Joe, please. We a part of the funds, the cash provide to this effort is going to a local nonprofit, a construct association. We call it in Costa Rica an association where some members of the indigenous community, the indigenous territory, are paid some money periodically to go check out the cameras, the trap cameras that scientists have set up in our broader territory, and they can bring them down to the property, have them ready. So when the scientists have their periodic visit to the hotel to do their work, they can have the little SD cameras ready so that they can download the videos and start doing their work. So that's a very practical, very beautiful association, coordination of members of the indigenous community, the scientists, and us as a private company, supporters of this whole work. And it actually makes a lot of sense because the financial or income sources that the indigenous community has around there are limited, and this work is very important. So it's a beautiful triangle where this collaboration can be executed well. So what is the actual solution, or what is actually happening in the field and in this collaboration of us on three participants, the indigenous community, the rest of the university and their friends and ourselves, that now there is a very good wildlife monitoring. We have various camera traps that we have financed. We have financed some equipment to do telemetry, satellite tracking for one specific member of the jaguar family around us in the hotel, so that it looks simple, right? Or sounds simple to track a mammal through a GPS. but these efforts are not done very frequently. So the information related to what they eat, what are to the seasons, and all these things that the scientists study are very important. And with this data, we think, I've heard from our friends, the scientists, that there is a fairly better chance to assess habitat health and inform broader communities about what can be done related to conservation of these species. Number two, again, part of the resolution or work that is now done in collaboration of the parts is that we do education programs in local communities, of course, including the indigenous reserve, of course, everyone knows what a jaguar is, and a jaguar is super cool. Let's help the jaguar to continue to survive. Okay, that's kind of basic, but what can be done if you see a jaguar, if you hear that someone is around one, what should you do? And create more specific awareness and specific actions that a small kid or a teenager or family can do to reduce these human jaguar conflicts and actually he becomes a member of this effort of jaguar. And lastly, I think I already mentioned it, but research support, of course, this is the beauty of doing hospitality in very remote places, right? Because on the very basic level, you can provide accommodation. So for the scientists that come frequently, you can host them there. There's food, there's electricity to charge the phones, there's infrastructure, some cars. Some of our tours help them, and they walk to where the cameras are, like that, right? So the very basic, sounds basic, but it's actually very important ability to host the scientists in very remote locations and provide them with logistical support is very important. We can move to the next, Joe. So what is the outcome and the related all this? Of course, there is enhanced, better, more sophisticated support the scientists that are doing this jaguar conservation. As I mentioned, now we have specific periodic data related to the camera traps and telemetry, GPS equipment to understand the population and what are they doing to our area of various hectares we have around the property, and then the broader geographic area that includes a national park, Parque Nacional Barbilla. Number two, we have seen that over the years, and it's not because of us directly or the hotel, right? It's because of this collaboration of these three parts. There is reduced human-wildlife conflict, especially because of the community education and community awareness. And again, because we have specific programs now where there is a financial transfer from the one company, in this case us, to the local indigenous community so that they can help the scientists, the other part of the triangle, get more data, more accurate data in the places very remote and potentially or probably familiar to the indigenous community. And number three, this is what I'm a bit nerd, and yes, I'll admit it. And the ability for us to support the missions that are some months or years later published in various places. And then sometimes it's publications, Nat Geo, and have supported this work. Is really important because the jaguar is very visible, it's very notorious, it's almost iconic, an iconic animal, right? But someone needs to take care of them, someone needs to do the work, study their paths, their migration, what do they eat, and so on. So that the final work, which is the publications, the information that is published publicly, is truly important for the long-term conservation efforts, and of course the promotion of the right biodiversity balance in places such as. And then if we move to the next one, I think I don't have a next slide. That's probably the last one. That's not that picture is not. Let me make sure it's not AI generated. It's that someone in one of these took. So that's a bit of the work that we in relation to feline conservation and a jaguar in this place called Pacuare in the middle of the Atlantic coast of Costa Rica. A quick note on why we are excited to tell this story in the broader work of the long run and its impact, because one of the next stages is to do collaboration in other countries. We're visiting, thanks to Joe and the team, we're visiting Cayman after the annual meeting this year. We're excited about that, and literally through the long run and friends that we have made, we expect to connect our scientist community in Costa Rica in this particular work with other things that are happening related to feline conservation in other places. I'm sure Brazil is not the only place. There's probably work in other geographies. So that ability to connect our own important project in Costa Rica with the work that has been happening in Brazil and potentially other geographies in Africa with other felines, that's going to be an amazing opportunity for our conservation effort in combination with the local community and the scientists. That opportunity is only possible because of the network of the long run community. So that we're excited about that next phase related to our continued work with the jaguars. So I don't have a live jaguar with me, unfortunately. That will be a little bit difficult, but that's the story I have to tell. I understand I'm one of the last ones, so I hope people stayed for this entire day. Will stay for the entire day of presentations. It's amazing work that everyone is doing, and thank you. It's the tale I have for you guys today.